Karianne Michelle. Today, my guest is Michelle Thames. We talk about setting boundaries, how meditation can help you achieve goals, and coming back to what is most important. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's sunny today, so I can't ask for anything else.
It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you too. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, it's amazing to have you on. I was really excited for us to reconnect. It's been quite a while since we've seen each other. I feel like that's how it is with most people these days. Um, well, I'm excited to jump into our conversation today around wellness and self-care. And I'm going to start by just sharing a little bit about you and how we know each other. That's always one of my favorite parts. So Michelle Thames is the CEO and social media strategist of Thames Media Solutions. And she is also the content creator behind the Instagram account Naturalista86, which has quite an impressive following, as well as happilyevernatural.com. And these are platforms that inspire women to be confident, courageous, and unique. And over the last 9 years, you have partnered with major brands as a content creator, a strategist, and a speaker, which is so cool. I think it's amazing that you've been having your own business for 9 years. That's so cool to me. And we met a little over a year ago at a Lululemon event here in Chicago. It was one of my very first sound baths, and you were there as an ambassador with the Equilibria Women CBD brand that we partnered with, and we just really connected, and it's just been so much fun to be in your network since that time.
Yeah, it's been so great. And you did amazing sound bath. Like I haven't had a one like that since ours. So it was
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was an exciting time, especially for me just to take a new step in the business. But yeah, I mean, congratulations. I just want to pause on 9 years. I really think that is admirable. It's something that, as another female business owner, it's like when you know somebody who's been in business that long, you know that you're doing something right, and even through the day to day and the pivots and all of that, it just shows like proof in the success. And it's really fun to watch your content and to see all the different things you do and how you help people.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like I've been blogging so long and seeing so much. It's crazy. And I never thought that this could actually, turn into a full-time career. Like who thinks that, oh, I'm going to start this blog and it'll just turn into so much more. So it's really been a blessing. And I'm just grateful to be able to use my skills to, create a blog and create income from that. So it's been great.
Yeah, and one of the other things we were talking about before we really kind of, got on today is that you were just starting your own podcast, and one of the things you're doing is helping people to really understand what goes into being successful in social media. You have a really enormous, really impressive following. You also create excellent content, and your audience is highly engaged. And but there is hard work that goes behind that, and so that's one of the cool things. Remind me the name of the podcast.
My podcast is Social Media Decoded.
Social Media Decoded. I love that. And that sounds like you're simplifying things, you're making it easy for people to understand, though it's not necessarily, there's work. Like I said, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing behind all of this. And as we talk about balance today, especially I'm curious about your perspective as someone who spends time, in social media, online, engaging with people. I mean, for you to be successful, it also means you really can't turn that off all that often.
Yeah, it's a struggle, but it can be done.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'd love to just jump in on that, kind of topic, and understand, what is one of your go-to forms of self-care, and why is that one that you rely on?
One of my go-to forms of self-care is definitely meditation. I've been meditating consistently for about 2.5 years. And when I first started, I thought that I was doing something wrong because, they say quiet your mind and all these thoughts start running through your head. But really, meditation has helped me to really own in and focus on certain things and really achieve my goals, because it just helps me to start my day to really calm myself and to really focus on what I want my day to be about. And I do different meditations. I mean, there's so many different meditations that there's so many different meditations you can do. But I really focus on, affirmations and setting an intention for my day, because I think when I set intentions for my day, it really helps me to drive to those goals and to get everything done. Because being a business owner and owning two businesses, being a wife, being a mom, it can be a lot. So that meditation by myself in the morning is my me time. And I really need that to help me get through my day. So meditation is definitely the first choice on any type of self-care for myself. Is definitely my meditation exercise, and journaling as well. Journaling and meditation go hand in hand. Once I'm done with my meditation, I journal, how I want my day to go, what I look forward to, what I'm grateful for, because that just helps me. It helps me stay centered and helps me bring everything back to that oneness within myself. Like, okay, today I'm going to set the intention to get everything done. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And it's just really helpful. So meditation is definitely my number one form of self-care.
I mean, I think that's beautiful too, the way that you kind of, also shared about the add-on of journaling, so that it's not only sort of allowing yourself that space and time to sort of just reconnect and kind of, even when I wake up in the morning, there's noise happening, in my mind all around. It's like, I notice it most in the shower. Like, I'll just be in there washing my hair or something, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot going on in here, and it's just me. But then that added step of how you journal, and I appreciate that you shared some of the things you journal about, because I feel like a lot of times with self-care, you'll hear, oh, well, journaling is a really great way to do that. And you're sort of like, okay, well, what do I journal about? And I also think from my own experience that sometimes if I'm in a grumpy mood in the morning, it's hard to feel without a little meditation and time for myself. If I sit with a journal, I'm like, well, I don't know. Not that I'm not grateful for things, because of course I am. But sometimes, you wake up and things are hard, and you're having emotions, and and that's where that meditation and that journaling can help you bring yourself back with a new perspective. And I really love that you do that. I'd be curious, how did you get into meditation?
I have been looking it up for a while, and I know, I don't want to say his name wrong. It's not Rev Run, but his brother. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, but I listened to some of him talking about meditate, and his name will come to me in a minute, but I listened to him talk about like how meditation is a process for successful people, is I think how I really, really got interested in it, because a lot of successful people meditate in the morning, either, like you said, meditate and journal. And I think that with me having my own business and just really wanting to be a successful business owner, I was looking for different ways to be an outlet for me to help me be a successful business person. And I think meditation has definitely helped with that. So just researching the different ways to be successful, and that was one of them. So I really, did more research on it, and the health benefits too. Is so many health benefits that people don't understand about meditation. And it just really helps your mind. And I'm really grateful for that, because I feel like my mind has developed so much since I've been meditating. And I know that that's kind of like hard to explain, but you only will know if you start to meditate. You will see how your mind can develop and the things that you will be open to. So I think that is why I really got started researching meditation.
Yeah, I like that perspective. And also, just, you're right about the mind. I mean, you trying to add on to that, because it's a hard thing sometimes to explain. I'll lead a sound bath, and as a part of that, we do a meditation, and then it is a very meditative experience. And I'll have people come up to me afterwards and sort of say, well, how do I know if I was really, meditating? And so I'll just ask the question about, well, what was the experience like? Was your mind racing? Were you thinking about one thing at a time? And part of that is just sitting and allowing yourself that space allows you to start to unpack what is even going on in my mind. Because as humans, it's incredible how many thoughts we can hold at once. And it's kind of the magic of allowing yourself to first just notice everything that's going on,
And I thought of his name, Russell Simmons. I don't know why I couldn't think of that.
Russell Simmons. Yeah.
Duh, like he meditates and he's been talking about it forever. So yes, he was definitely somebody that I researched, and he talked about it and broke it down and really for me to understand it. So I thought of his name.
Oh, that's great. No, I'm glad you did, because we'll make sure that anyone listening or watching, they might be curious to look him up. I'd also be curious, when you first started to meditate, like, what was your process? Did you just try to do it for like a minute at a time? Did you jump in with a guided meditation and just sort of say, okay, I'm going to try to do this for 10 minutes? What was that like?
Yeah, I looked up a lot of meditations on YouTube. I did start off with the 5-minute guided meditations. I feel like those really helped me. Also on like Spotify, they have meditations on there too. They have them everywhere. And there's apps, there's the Calm app, there's the Headspace app. I've tried both of them. But I really just prefer to go to YouTube or Spotify and just type in a meditation. However I'm feeling in the morning is really what I tend to go with. Sometimes I'll say, okay, I want a gratitude meditation, or a 5-minute guided morning meditation, or a nighttime meditation. 'Cause I do those too to help me get to sleep. But it just really depends on my day. And I have so many different avenues, like I said, YouTube, Spotify. Yeah, so that's really how I just search for them on a daily basis. It just really depends on how I'm feeling for the day.
Well, I think that's a good insight too, because it is nice, in one respect, you can find someone's voice that you really find soothing, or you like sort of the approach, but it's also really nice to just know that we have this wealth of, libraries that exist, and a lot of them for free or are really low cost, and that you can just start by like, what is it that I need? And whatever kind of comes to mind, you can find it. And it sounds like for you, the other thing that I would take away, that I hope, people that maybe are just trying to get into meditation would take away as well, is that there's not really one size fits all. It's like, even within your day-to-day, life, you're going to have, like you said, maybe you're feeling like you need some help cultivating gratitude, or you just want to calm down before you go to bed. And that's kind of the beauty of meditation, is it's whatever you need it to be.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. It's so many different ways. So for anybody listening or watching, know that there is no one right way to do meditation. And a lot of people to DM me and ask me, are there different ways to do meditation? There's so many different ways. So there's no one size fit all. I'm glad that you said that, because a lot of people may begin to feel overwhelmed with the thought of meditation and all the different forms. So just go with what you feel is best.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really great advice. The other thing that I'm curious about, as I think about, especially you being in business, being an entrepreneur as long as you have, if you think back, is there a piece of advice that's really helped you to think differently about the idea of self-care in your business?
Yeah, and this year has really been a year, because I started my agency in August of last year and officially launched it in February of this year. And really setting boundaries and knowing what you can and can't do, because you want to please everybody, right? But we know that we can't do that. So setting those boundaries is even self-care, because you don't want to overextend yourself. I can't pour from an empty cup. So if I'm depleted, there's going to be nothing that I can give my clients, nothing that I can give my husband, my daughter, anyone, if I'm depleted. So definitely setting boundaries early and not taking on too many tasks that I know that will overwhelm me. That has really been important in business, and really understanding my limits.
Yeah, and I think I love the metaphor. I mean, I go to, not overfilling your cup a lot of times, because the ironic thing is that when you do that, and we keep going down that metaphor. I mean, like, it spills over and then there's nothing in there. And when you are your business, and you're doing what you are, not only with the agency side, but then as a content creator, because you have two pieces to that. It relies on you to be there, and you can't keep going, and you can't have financial stability if you don't have that balance. And so I think it's really beautiful that you figured out, creating boundaries. What are some ways that you do that? I mean, I heard one, which is that you have your meditation time for yourself every day. What else do you do in your business to help make sure that those boundaries are there?
So I don't know if you heard of the 4-hour work week, but I started to read that, and I don't take calls on Mondays and Fridays, because Mondays, I feel like I need to regroup from the weekend and figure out what plan I want to take of action. And Fridays, I feel like, is a day that I want to relax, and I want some me time and time to focus on myself and my business. So not taking calls on those 2 days definitely helped me. And I know, being a new entrepreneur going into this, you're like, I can't, like, you're not going to have calls on Mondays and Fridays, but it's your business and you can decide what you want to do. So that is something that I decided that those are my boundaries. I don't accept calls on Mondays and Fridays. And then I set up on Tuesday through Thursday, what time frame will I be able to take calls and meetings, and having a set schedule, having a calendar, having everything at my fingertips and knowing that when I'm doing this, just that's so important to have those boundaries and to make sure that I'm doing that. Having a set schedule is just so important.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. It's interesting when you were talking about that and, the idea of the 4-hour work week and the sort of the no Monday and Friday calls and when do you have your calls on the other days? It made me think a lot about when I first started my business 3 years ago. And now, granted, that was a time when we were, going downtown and meeting up for coffee with people. But still, I remember at first, I thought, oh my gosh, anytime that somebody wants to have a coffee, like I'm in it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to be there for them because I got to grow my business. And I was exhausted after like maybe 3 months of doing that. I thought to myself, like, what are you doing? I was spending so much time, taking the L, going downtown, and then taking the L maybe back home because I didn't have a co-working space then. And I agree that as soon as I was able to say, this is the couple days I'm downtown, it helped me stay focused overall. And I sort of did the same thing again when COVID hit and all of a sudden I was kind of back inside and some business changed. I had a little freak out and I sort of thought, okay, well, if they want to talk tomorrow, then I'll take that call. And the same thing happened. After about a month and a half in, I was like, I got to go back to, I only do phone calls on these days and these times. And that's when I'm going to give my energy to other people and to, partnerships or opportunities or new business. And the other times I'm going to save that to work on the business itself.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. If you don't set boundaries and if you just continue to take calls and just continue to run yourself raggedy, is what I like to say, it's going to hurt you in the end because you're not going to have any energy or any time to do anything else. So just setting those boundaries and making sure too that your clients understand, I think that's super important. I'm very selective in the clients that I take too because it can be overwhelming. I mean, some clients are very particular about things and things like that. So that's another thing, is being super intentional on what clients that I do accept, because that can be a determining factor too on like time and things like that. So it's super important for that as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's something too also, when you kind of going back to the idea of like, if you set yourself up well in the morning, you have your little time for you, you're more tapped into what you need. You kind of have the boundaries then. So now when you have a phone call with somebody, you're much more quickly able to assess, how am I feeling about this potential client? And even though I know for me, there's been times where like, I feel like, oh, this is money. I need it this month. I really should make this work. But there's something about that energy or the way the conversation's going that's telling me, my gut, this is not going to serve you well. And ultimately, you're not going to serve that person as well either, because you're not going to do your best work. And I know that I didn't get good at understanding that until I started to have those boundaries and time for myself as well. Do you find that happens to you? I mean, how do you make decisions about those clients? I mean, is it a similar process where it's kind of a feeling or?
Yeah, it is. It's totally a feeling. And also I have questionnaires, to make sure that we're the right fit, because everybody is not the right fit for everybody. And that's another thing, just taking on clients just because of the money. That's not the right way to go. Definitely it's a feeling, and just making sure we're the right fit for each other, because you may not be the right fit for it to be a client for me. You know what I'm saying? It has to be mutually beneficial and we have to be on the same page. So definitely I have processes set in place, for example, a questionnaire to go over before we even decide to move forward with being a client. So
I think that's great. And that's a good example for people that are watching or listening, just to know that, you can choose to have an extension of those boundaries for yourself to gather more data before you make a choice. So that just like the client is deciding about if they're going to choose you, you're choosing if you want to work with them. And I think that's really smart. So is your questionnaire lengthy? Is it just, kind of the core information you need? I'd love getting like insight on that. I always think that kind of helps people to get ideas.
Yeah, it's not lengthy at all. It definitely like goes over budgets and things like that because that's super important. It goes over, what they're looking for, what their needs are, so that we can make sure that we are able to fully meet their needs and also that they're able to, afford our services. So we just want to make sure that we're right fit. So it's not too long. It's a short questionnaire. And then if we feel that, we want to move forward and it's a good mutually beneficial relationship, then we'll have, a call to discuss everything and move forward and they can sign on as a client.
Yeah, well, thank you for walking through that. And the reason I kind of belabored that point is that one of the things I've been trying to pull out along the way in these conversations is when these sort of forms of self-care show up in a conversation that we might not consider that, right? Like we might not consider creating a questionnaire for a client as really a form of self-care. It's like that seems like, well, that's just maybe a good business practice that I could adopt. But the reality is what it's doing is it's preserving your own time and it's allowing you to have a way to do it, make it a faster process and to make a better decision, which are all things that ultimately help serve you, which is what self-care is, which that's kind of part of like what I'm trying to do with this series is also help educate in all those different ways when they show up.
Yes.
One of the other things that I've been kind of getting into with everybody this series is, we are living in such a different time in life, right? Something that none of us have ever lived through, especially when we think about a pandemic. I know I was talking to my parents, they're in their 70s and they're saying, never experienced something like this. And then, you couple that uncertainty of this global pandemic with, when we live in big cities and we have all types of other underlying issues that are going on. And, we're dealing with, protests and change and all together, day in and day out, that is there, it's present. And, I'd be curious for you as you think back about, the last several months, and are there times that you feel stuck? And what do you do to motivate yourself right now, when things are feeling overwhelming?
Oh, I've been stuck so many times during this pandemic. And it's just really bringing myself back to focus on, what's really important. And for me, it's really important for me to create generational wealth for my family. I mean, I don't come from a family who has a lot of money or anything like that. So it's very, very important to me to always move the needle forward every single day. So when I'm stuck in a rut, I just think back to my goals and what I'm trying to achieve with my business. And that really helps me to propel forward. It's just so much going on and so much noise. And especially like you said, in Chicago, we've had riots, we've had so much stuff happening. It could just be so hard to focus. And I'll pick up a book or something, something, I love self-help books. I'm looking at my library over here. I have like a ton of books and sometimes I just pick up a book and say, okay, well, I feel like my message is in this book today. And I think I get a spark from that as well, like to keep moving forward. But definitely always in the back of my mind, my purpose is what keeps me going. So even if I'm having like the worst day ever, I'll sit myself down and say, Michelle, why are you really doing this? You know why you're doing it. So don't worry about everything else that's going on. Cut the chatter and just really focus on your goal. And that is creating generational wealth for my family, something I can pass down to my daughter. I don't want my daughter to have to go through the same things that I went through. I want her to be able to have the tools that she needs readily available for her so that she can go off and have a property at the age of 18 or whatever it is, have her own business if she wants to do that. I wasn't afforded those opportunities. So it's really, really super important to me that she is afforded more opportunities than I ever have. And she actually has. She's been around the country and she's only 6. She's done so many things that I've never got to do. So that's like my motivation and driving factor when I'm stuck in a rut. It's like, no, I'm going to get it together because I have such more of a bigger purpose than just these businesses that you see. So that's really what keeps me going.
I love that. I mean, thank you for sharing that. I feel like, getting down to that depth of like, what is my purpose and what is it I'm trying to do? And, also just knowing that part of that can be about, like you said, creating generational wealth and that there's nothing wrong with, that being one of the driving pieces. I love this. I love this conversation. I love everything that we've chatted about. And I appreciate your insights and opening up. I would love to know, kind of as we wrap things up, if there is if anyone's listening to this, they're feeling inspired, they want to, get in touch with you. We'll obviously have all your handles and everything here that people can click on and get to. But, is there anything that specific, if they're thinking about social media or ways to work with you that you'd like to share?
Oh, sure. Definitely. If anyone, wants to work with social media, if they want to work on their strategy, if they need help, you can find us at thamesmediasolutions.com, and we help you simplify social media because, like I said earlier, it can be so complex, and we really want to help our clients simplify social media so that they can thrive online. You can also find me at Naturalista86 on Instagram. I share so much mom tips. Sustainability is a really, really big for me. So I'm sharing more of that. Saving our planet is so important to me. Like, people don't understand how something you do so small can help our planet and help us live longer. And also my blog, Happily Ever Natural, again, where I inspire women to be confident, courageous, and unique every single day, because we're all unique. Like, no one's the same. And I think that that's really important to me, is to continue to promote that message that you are unique in your own way and no one can be like you. So just keep doing what you're doing, because the world needs your shine. The world needs what you have to give, and no one else can offer what you offer. So that's my tip of advice to anybody who's just starting out or not sure if they want to do a podcast, a book, whatever. No one will be able to do it like you. So that's where you can find me. And I'm so thankful for this conversation, because self-care is so super important to me.
Thank you. I love that. I'm going to take that with me too, and remembering, that there is no one else like me. There's no one else like you. And you're right. I mean, that's really at the heart of it. Thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Well, I'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for tuning in.